The end of an era for Iron Maiden, Judas Priest's insane roller coaster, or Gojira's gold medal performance at the Olympics, just to name a few. 2024 was one of the best and at the same time the most bittersweet years for metal in a long time. So today let's take a look at some of the most significant events which kept metal alive in 2024 and then finally announce the album of the year voted for by you and our amazing metal experts. Here you go!
Hell yeah!
2024 became a year of many loud comebacks in the world of rock and metal, for some which we've been waiting for many years. But I guess the most anticipated of all of them was the return of the legendary AC/DC, who went on their first proper tour in more than 8 years, and even more, did that with the best possible lineup they could have done it with today in 2024. And of course, there was simply an enormous hype around this tour, with most of the tickets being sold out in a matter of hours. And even more, in the first 24 hours, AC/DC were actually able to sell more than 1 million tickets to their shows announced by them. And the thing is that I hope that everyone understands that no one can sound and run around the stage in their 70s exactly the same as they did 50 years before that. So in my opinion, there is simply no point in discussing AC/DC's form on their Power Up tour, as the whole fact that we are able to see the legendary AC/DC up on stage once again today in 2024 is already some kind of miracle.
A blessing from the Lord. God be praised.
A miracle which it looks like will continue in 2025, as after an enormous hype around the 2024 dates, it was pretty logical that the band announced that they will continue their Power Up tour for next year as well. After which, naturally, quite a lot of fans started asking about a possibility of a new AC/DC album, which I don't think that we're going to see in the next couple of years. And even more, I actually believe that Power Up was the best possible album AC/DC could have released at this stage of their career. So even if we don't get to hear any new music from the legendary Australian act in the future, this to me would be a perfect end to their studio career. And once again, just the whole fact that they will bless their loyal diehard fans with more shows next year is already the best possible gift any AC/DC fan could have asked for. And of course, AC/DC weren't by far not the only band which made their loud comeback this year. As in the course of just a couple of months, Linkin Park managed to announce their return on stage, announce a name of their new singer, release a new album with that singer, and even go on the first shows of their world run. And yes, of course, you can start commenting about how Linkin Park is not really rock and metal and they shouldn't be on this list. But the truth is that Linkin Park, whether you like them or not, are in fact one of the most influential acts, and not only in rock and metal, but in music overall of the early 2000s. And their comeback is, in fact, one of the most important musical news of this year. And while some of you, of course, may argue in the comments that Linkin Park is not exactly metal, I believe that none of us would be able to say the same thing about the next band on the list. As 2024 was a great year for all thrash metal fans, and more specifically for all of the Slayer fans around the world. First and foremost, Kerry King stopped teasing his fans and finally announced something that we long expected him to announce: his new solo project, on which he gathered quite a lot of amazing artists, which in fact made this Kerry King solo band somewhat of a supergroup of this year. And while of course on his debut solo record, Kerry King decided to not reinvent the wheel, the whole fact that Kerry did continue to carry the torch of thrash metal, which Slayer have dropped several years ago, was of course a huge present for all of the thrash metal fans. But the craziest thing, of course, was the whole fact that just a couple of weeks after Kerry King announced his solo album, Slayer themselves announced their return on stage, which was a huge surprise for every Slayer fan, and it looks like for every member of the Kerry King solo band who had no idea this was happening. And although this return on stage, of course, does not really signify a full comeback of Slayer, the first couple of shows that the band was able to play this year created quite a lot of buzz among the thrash metal fans, and maybe that's why the band has already announced their first reunion shows of 2025, which once again spiked quite a discussion about the possibility of a new Slayer album, which, in case you missed this, a couple of weeks ago, Kerry King did confirm is never going to happen. And the only thing Slayer fans can count on is a couple of random shows and appearances at the biggest metal festivals around the world. Which, if you think about it, is still gazillion times better situation for Slayer fans than it was just a year ago. And of course, the last but definitely not the least on the list of our huge metal comebacks of 2024 was the return of the prodigal son Mike Portnoy, which, although it was technically announced in 2023, Mike did play his first reunion shows with Dream Theater only this year. And the truth is that it was an incredible pleasure to see how warmly he and the boys were met by the loyal Dream Theater fans around the world, which, as we all know, they have many of. And the whole fact that during this year they were able to not only go up on stage, but also record their new studio album together, which, just as a reminder, will be released in the next couple of months, is a true blessing to every metalhead around the world. By the way, guys, real quick, here I just simply have to point out that only around 30% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed to the Metal Plugin channel. So if by any chance you still haven't done so yet, and especially if this is not the first video you're watching on the show, I would really appreciate it if you would consider doing it right now. Let's continue building this amazing heavy metal community together. 2024 became one of the most incredible years for classic heavy metal in ages. Right from its start, it was rather obvious that the mastodons of the genre have all prepared something extraordinary for their loyal, die-hard fans. It kicked off with the new albums by the mighty Saxon, Blaze Bayley, Accept, Bruce Dickinson, and of course the metal gods themselves, Judas Priest, with their Invincible Shield. Just a mere fact that all these and many other legacy acts dropped their new records all in 1 year would be enough for it to be a very special one for the genre already. But the craziest thing here was not even the quantity, but rather the quality of those, as I don't think that anyone expected them to release such kind of records in 2024. And the thing is that most of you guys know that I was actually invited by Judas Priest to join them on the road for a special fundraiser for Ukraine this year, and you know, we were able to turn Rob Halford's sunglasses to a lot of medical aid, which was already delivered to the hospitals around Ukraine. All the reports are actually available on my website, metalplugin.net, and on social media pages of our heavy metal non-profit Steelwings Foundation. So I'm not gonna go into the details of it in this video. But the craziest things which I noticed during that tour were A, the amount of young fans at each of their shows, and B, well, let's be honest here, when you are going to see a band which has been around for more than 40 years, you're kind of ready subconsciously for it to be somewhat of a nostalgia act. Yet neither Saxon, nor Judas Priest or Doro or any other of the legacy acts who have been touring this year were such. Quite the opposite. The energy which I personally witnessed this year was simply unmatched, as if, the success of all those incredible studio records which they released this year and the incredible reaction to those from their fanbase have given them wings, which allow them to deliver some of the best shows they've done in decades. And maybe that's why such bands as Burning Witches and Tailgunner and all the other new wave of traditional heavy metal bands have seen an enormous growth in popularity in 2024. which, if you ask me, is simply an amazing thing. By the way, guys, talking about new bands and supporting up-and-coming artists or YouTubers, just want to let you know that if you would like to represent Metal Pilgrim Show and our amazing community, there are still a couple of such incredible t-shirts left, which of course have quite a lot of hints and clues to our favorite classic heavy metal bands, which you can order via a link in the description to this video, and which I'll be more than happy to send pretty much anywhere across the world. And just in case if you decide to do that, I just want to say thank you guys, because it does support the show quite a lot. 2024 became a pivotal year for Iron Maiden. Even more, it became the end of the longest lasting era for this band. Yet, in all fairness, not all news from the Iron Maiden camp were negative this year, and it all started on the 1st of March, when the legendary Bruce Dickinson has finally returned with his solo project and released his first solo studio album in almost 19 years, titled The Mandrake Project. Yet, of course, Bruce Dickinson being, well, you know, Bruce Dickinson, he couldn't simply just drop new music for his fans, and combine the release of the Mandrake Project with a bunch of activities hiding different clues and hints for all of his loyal diehard fans to discover, and even pair this album with a corresponding comic book, which story is still going on and will go on for quite a while. Yet, while the release of his new solo album is of course a great thing, even better thing that we got to witness this year was Bruce Dickinson's return on stage as a solo artist. As in case you forgot, one thing Bruce Dickinson did not do as a solo artist for longer than dropping new studio records was performing on stage, as his last proper solo tour happened to happen almost 26 years ago, meaning that most of metalheads below the age 40 never had a chance to witness Bruce performing Tears of Dragon or any other of his biggest solo hits live before this year. And of course, after wrapping up his 2024 solo tour, Bruce Dickinson joined his main act and went on road together with Iron Maiden, as the band continued taking their The Future Past tour all across the world, and even had a chance to announce the next tour already, celebrating their 50th anniversary, which will commence in 2025, when on October 21st, the Iron Maiden family around the world has been struck with rather shocking news. The sad news of the passing of the legendary first Iron Maiden studio vocalist, Paul Di'Anno, whose heart stopped beating at the age of 66, and together with him passed the whole era of Iron Maiden, the era of the first two albums. The albums which helped Iron Maiden put themselves on a map back in the early 1980s, and celebration of which will take a slightly different connotation from now on their upcoming 50th anniversary Run for Your Lives tour. And before Iron Maiden family around the world even had a chance to take a breath, just a couple of months after this, the legendary Iron Maiden drummer Nicko McBrain announced his departure from touring with the band. And here's the craziest thing, which I honestly did not really think of at first. But preparing this episode, I actually realized that it could have been that the news of the sudden passing of the legendary Paul Di'Anno, who, as we all know, kept performing on stage until his very last breath, could have actually had an impact on Nicko McBrain's decision to end his live touring career together with Iron Maiden. A decision which, for sure, did not come easy for him, as he has been with the band for over 42 years by now. Yet who knows, maybe it was these news which helped Nicko McBrain make that final decision of concentrating on his health, his family, and his loved ones from now on. Which, although, let's be honest here, will be very, very difficult for Iron Maiden fans to see pretty much anyone but Nicko McBrain behind a drum kit at an Iron Maiden show. The more I think about it, the more I actually respect this decision, as the truth is that Nicko McBrain, I think, could have easily gone on the road and, performed together with Iron Maiden on their 50th anniversary tour. Yet Nicko's decision to concentrate solely on studio work and Steve Harris's decision to invite Simon Dawson to live shows with Iron Maiden means that the band has plans for far beyond the next Run for Your Lives tour, and they are ready to concentrate on quality over quantity, which most likely means that we will get to hear new music and many more live tours by Iron Maiden in the future. This year we saw a continuation of a trend which has started a couple of years ago, a trend of the mainstream media giving more and more attention to metal, which I think is a great thing, because the more attention there is, the more new fans we are going to get, ensuring that our favorite genre will continue striving in the future. And so in 2024 we finally saw the legendary Prince of Darkness Ozzy Osbourne being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, something which is long overdue and should have been done a long time ago. But the craziest thing is that I'm actually really happy that Ozzy Osbourne was not performing himself during that induction ceremony, as it is precisely these kind of performances which once again showcase and remind us why Ozzy Osbourne, despite not having the biggest vocal range or the craziest voice in the history of rock and metal, still is pretty much always being included into all the possible top vocalists lists. Because only when you hear his songs being butchered by other vocalists, you remember how good Ozzy actually is.
Every day we've been apart.
And in addition to that, this year metal has done something which it hasn't been able to do for quite a while now. Scare people. As the performance of one of the most spoken of band in rock and metal of this year, that one of course being Knocked Loose at Jimmy Kimmel Live, has done something which hasn't really been the case for quite a while now, and triggered all the mainstream audiences around the world, resulting in hundreds of comments about how this is not music and this should never be played in front of people. Which I think is a great thing, because A, well, negative PR is still PR, and B, well, this is exactly the same thing people were saying about Black Sabbath and Judas Priest back 50 years ago. And the last, but definitely not least on this list, is Gojira's iconic performance at the Olympic opening ceremony this year in France. A performance which simply skyrocketed not only Gojira's popularity around the world, but interest in rock and metal overall, as it has showcased how diverse can metal actually be, how cinematic, theatrical, and at the same time touchy and aggressive it can sound. And in my opinion, it is exactly these kind of performances which continue the life of our favorite genre, ensuring that more and more young boys and girls will be interested in picking up a guitar and starting a band of their own. And I truly believe that the impact of it will actually be seen in the next several years, making this by far the most important event for rock and metal of 2024. Wait, I just realized that for the next segment I absolutely have to have a very special metal item. So, yeah. Okay, now we can do it. And now the time has come for us to finally announce the album of the year. For the last couple of weeks, you guys all have been voting for the best metal album of 2024 and submitted thousands of votes. I honestly could never imagine this kind of interest in it. And this year we also did it slightly differently, as in addition to the public vote, we also had an expert board comprised of some incredible YouTubers, including, in no particular order of course, A&P Reacts, Belgian Jasper, Bradley Hall, Guitar Max, and Miguel Delis. And I thank each and every one of you for submitting your votes, and everyone on the expert board for taking time and doing their rankings. And so it is my pleasure to announce that according to all of you metal pilgrims, the best metal album of 2024 is... drumroll here. Judas Priest, Invincible Shield.
Invincible Shield.
So yes, Judas Priest Invincible Shield is the best metal album of 2024 according to the Metal Pilgrim community. The full standards are actually available at metalpilgrim.net. You can go ahead and check them out. But now I just once again want to thank everyone for submitting their votes. And if you guys would like to improve this kind of system for next year, please do let us know in the comments. As I hope we can kind of make it an annual thing. But anyways, 2024 is almost over, and I believe that it was an incredible year for metal. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for helping me build this incredible heavy metal community and keeping the metal fire burning both online and offline. And I hope that next year we can take our community and this show to an absolutely new level. Because believe it or not, but 2025 promises to be an even better year for metal than this one, of which we of course will talk in the first video of next year. But for now, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for supporting me, this show, in Ukraine through this very difficult time. God bless you all, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!